Okay, so I want to stop pretending about something. Over 100,000 small trucking companies didn't just wake up one day and decide to quit. Okay? They got squeezed out. They've been crushed. And now instead of talking about what actually has caused it, we're arguing about people's accents. Have you noticed this? Because I have. Our government's talking a lot about foreigners. They're talking a lot about safety. They're talking about drivers with non-domiciled CDLs. But what I want to talk about today is structure. But before I would get into this and get into it deep, I want to say something very, very important because a lot of you know this guy as Bob on Facebook. His hats literally says Bob. And I'm talking about Robert Dennis Murphy and his wife, Deborah Murphy. And love Bob. They're crazy about him. They're very popular. They look at his tone. They look at how fired up he gets. But I'm going to tell you something. To me, Bob is trucking. He's not polished. He's not media trained. He's not reading corporate talking points. He's a guy who's watched small carriers disappear. He's a guy who's angry because he's watched family lose businesses that they have built for decades. And Deborah, his wife, is standing right there with him. You don't have to agree with every word he says, but you'd better start listening to what he's pointing at, because underneath all that fire, there's structure. And that's what we're going to be breaking down today. So during COVID, freight went insane. Rates went vertical, loads were everywhere, money was flowing. And what happens whenever rates go crazy? Everybody starts buying a truck. MC numbers exploded, used truck prices literally tripled, financing was easy, and everybody just jumped in. Nobody slowed it down. Nobody said, hey, this isn't sustainable. Capacity flooded the market, and when you flood a market, you drown all of the small guys first. So then the demand cooled. Inventory normalized. Spending slowed. Freight volumes came back to earth, but the trucks stayed. Too many trucks stayed. There just wasn't enough freight. All of the rates fell. They crashed. And this isn't complicated. It's not political, and it's not mysterious. What this is math. And whenever rates drop 30 to 40%, small carriers cannot survive that. I don't care what anybody says. Truck payments didn't drop. Insurance didn't drop. It went up, actually. Maintenance didn't drop. Parts went up. It even got more expensive. The margins disappeared. You see, that's how you wipe out 100,000 businesses. That's why these lease purchases are failing so bad, is because the margins aren't there to hide, but now you can really see it because they're getting thin. So let's address what everyone keeps yelling about and what you're seeing all this news about when it comes to foreign drivers. A lot of people are saying it was foreign drivers. They took the domestic jobs. They drove the wages down. Okay, so the only thing I want to say about this is show me. Just show me. Show me one documented economic study proving that foreign drivers have caused the freight rates to collapse. Just one. Just show me one. I tell everybody here in the office to dig in. We dig in here. We read reports. We look at freight data. We look at wage numbers. We look at federal data. There is no published economic proof that nationality has caused this freight crash, or that they're taking domestic drivers' jobs. None. If someone has this, if you've got wage data broken down by nationality, show me. If you've got proof that foreigners replace domestic drivers at a scale, show me. I want a study show me a study that's trying to rate collapse directly to nationality. Bring it on, because I'll review it publicly and I'll redact everything that I just said. Okay? But until then, what lines up with this timeline is oversupply. You see, there was way too many trucks, just not enough freight. And that's what crushed all of the rates, not passports. When labor supply increases during a boom, wages feel pressure. That is economics. But that's also oversupply. That's way too many trucks. There's too many drivers, not enough freight. And I think they were doing exactly what they wanted to do by having all of these foreigners get their CDLs, putting all these drivers to work, and the megals were putting them on the roads. You don't need to blame accents to explain that. You need a calculator. And when drivers start fighting drivers, then the whole structure wins. Because while we argue about nationality, nobody's talking about the leverage. All right. Now, here's where this gets really uncomfortable, because I seen a video where Bob talked about broker control today. And I really got to thinking about this, because he's right. Basically, it's $1 trillion industry, and brokers control a huge slice of it. But who really watches the brokers financially? Nobody serious. If a broker plays games, where do you complain? The FMCSA? And the FMCSA is a safety agency, right? They check brakes, they check logs, they deal with hours of service. They're not a financial regulator. He's so right about this. There's no SEC for freight brokers, no Wall Street oversight, no real financial watchdog tracking pricing behavior. But if you look at all the other businesses in the United States, mortgage brokers have strict laws, stock brokers have federal oversight, banks have regulators. Freight brokers, nothing. Mostly registration rules and old regulations. And they got a $75,000 bond today. Ooh, that's it. So when oversupply hits, when rates start sliding, when small carriers are desperate, who has leverage? Not the one truck operator. And this is real. I want us to, as drivers, to stop mixing conversations. Let's stop mixing the conversations. If enforcement needs tightening, let's tighten it. If CDL mills existed, let's shut them down. If testing was weak, let's fix it. If bad actors were exploiting loopholes, let's deal with them. Let's get them out of here. If there's foreign drivers that are here driving and they're not here legally to be working, see it. You got to go. But let's not confuse safety reform with freight economics. Rates didn't collapse because of speeches. They didn't collapse because of accents. They didn't collapse because someone couldn't pronounce a word. They collapsed because supply exceeded demand. There's too many trucks, not enough freight. That's the mechanism. Now, here's the part that no one wants to say out loud either. Consolidation isn't a conspiracy. And I just hope that they didn't do this on purpose. But what it is it's a pattern. When small carriers die, freight consolidates. Mega fleets stabilize. Public carriers survive. Capital wins. That's contraction. And if you don't think big players benefit when weak hands get shaken out, oh man, you haven't been paying attention, because Bob's right. You don't need a secret meeting. You need incentives. And the incentives were very clear. Oversupply crushes small operators. Scale survives. That's not drama. This is how markets reset. So let's summarize all this. Let's go back over all of it real quick. Did oversupply happen? Absolutely. No doubt in my mind. Did rates collapse because too many trucks chased too little freight? Yes. It was bad. Did 100,000 small carriers get wiped out? Yes. 100%. It happened. Is there documented proof that foreign drivers caused the freight collapse? None. No. Show me. Until someone produces real data, not emotions, not political noise, the timeline points to oversupply and margin squeeze, not nationality. I don't care about nationalities, to be honest, but I'm telling you the facts. If we don't understand what actually is happening, the next boom will happen. If this was planned, it'll happen again. The next oversupply will happen. The next crash will happen. And small carriers will get crushed again. So stop chasing scapegoats. Start analyzing the structure. And if you haven't listened to Bob, you actually need to listen, because you don't have to agree with everything, but you'd better understand what he's warning everyone about, because this industry just got reset like that. And if you didn't learn from it, it'll reset you the next time.